What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Saad Truth podcast. I'm Saad Alessa, and this is the 5th episode of the Saad Truth. Crazy to think about it. 5 episodes so far. I feel like time's been, running real fast, but that's not the point. I hope you guys have been, been having a great week so far. I hope your week isn't treating you bad. It's Wednesday, so it's midweek for you guys. And if you're working at jobs that you don't like, I hope you have the strength to continue to the weekend. And if you're doing what you enjoy, congrats to you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I don't mean to be shitting on people that are doing things that they don't enjoy, but, I just know that it's hard. And that's the topic of this podcast today. The conventional route versus the unconventional route. And trust me, guys, when I tell you that this episode wasn't planned. I'm going to tell you guys in a second how I got to this topic. But first, I just watched the Dave Chappelle new Netflix special, Sticks and Stones. And let me tell you guys, if you're into stand-up comedy and haven't watched the special yet, I know it's only been out since last night. No, not last night, because this episode's coming out Wednesday. But it'll be probably like a few days. But I really recommend that you guys watch it. It's really good. I love the writing. I'm not even going to critique it. It's great. Watch it. It was really good. It inspired me to write a little more, and that's what I did all day today. Also, last Saturday, I did the Birds Blast Off show. If you guys came out to the show, if you're in LA and you came out to support, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's crazy because this show I did, Tony Hinchcliffe was one of the headliners on the show. And if you guys have been following my stand-up journey, about 3 years ago now, 3 years, 2017, April 2017, I'm bad at math, so you guys do the math, is when I started doing stand-up comedy. And one of the first shows that I did was Kill Tony at the Comedy Store, where, if you don't know what Kill Tony is a lot of comedians sign up to go up in the main room at the Comedy Store in front of the 200 or 150 people that are there. And you do a 1-minute set, 60 seconds, all you get. And then pretty much Tony and his guests roast you or critique you. And I did it. And to think that I'm on the same show as Tony now was really awesome. It was really cool to look back and think of how far I've come as a comedian in that short amount of time. Again, it just goes to show you that if you stick to something, and I'm not saying I'm great in any way, don't take it the wrong way. I'm just saying that it's really cool when you look back and think, oh shit, I stuck to something and it's paying off. And it was really cool. I enjoyed the show. If you guys are really into comedy or enjoy like a good lineup, I recommend going to the next one. I'm not going to be on it, but it's definitely worth going to. It was a lot of fun, and it was a very important moment for me, I think, to see that my name was up there with other comedians who are, have been doing this a few years more than I have, or like 10 years for some of them. So anyways, back to the topic of the podcast. That was just me venting. I got a message on Instagram from a gentleman who I'm going to keep his name anonymous for now. And you'll understand why. All right. And I'm going to read it to you guys. And if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, I'm holding my phone at this point, so give me a second. And I'm going to read it to you guys. And this topic really hit home for me. It did. Because at one point I was on the same path. And if you've been following Legendary or know about Legendary, that's the whole reason I created Legendary, was because I wanted to answer these doubts and questions of other people who shared my doubts and questions at the time. So the message goes, "Hi Saad, I saw one of your shows starring Salman Drin and absolutely loved it." And what he's referring to here is Legendary episode 3 with Alejandro Solomon. Then he goes on to say, "I've been brought up in UAE my entire life and now studying engineering in Canada. Taking an unconventional career route doesn't always fit with society, especially when it comes to income. Having an engineering job right after grad puts me better financially," and then in parentheses, "which society and family expects," and then goes to ask, "How did you take an unconventional path? I see my fellow friends from high school buying exotic cars now as they finish uni, and going on a completely different path seems incorrect. Question mark. I don't know how many of you guys struggle with the same issue, but let me explain to you guys how, at least to me, our society is functioning. I think we come from a society where it's very important to us growing up what they think. And then you guys fill in the blank with they. I'm not going to do that for you. You guys know whether it's parents, cousins, family, your grandmother, your grandfather, neighbors, distant cousins, whatever. The point is, it's they, right? We're always discussing the they. What are they going to think? What should I study so that they can respect me? What job do I need to get so that they can see me and think, wow, what an individual. And that's my truth, right? So if you're like in Kuwait or in the Middle East and you don't think that's applicable, it's fine. We have different opinions. I just think it's very they heavy, right? And I think a lot of us grow up in these societies. And I'm not just saying like on a cultural aspect. I'm talking on, this happens probably in the States too, in different states. Like maybe not California because they're very liberal and some households perhaps. But I'm saying like in general, when you grow up in a culture or society, that there's a certain line of expectations for you, right? Whether it's you need to get a high school diploma, you need to go get a college degree, and it has to be in something like engineering, business, like becoming a health doctor or like whatever. The point is, but there's not a lot of attention or respect for artists, for example. Things are changing now, I realize that, but deep inside, a lot of individuals grow up in these societies thinking they're not good enough because they don't fall under the certain criteria, or they don't see it as something noble, or they have something that he doesn't have. So in this individual's case, my man, I'm sending you this podcast link. I hope you're listening to this because I decided to answer your question on my podcast because I feel like a lot of people struggle with the same issue. All right. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I faced so that you understand where I'm coming from. Obviously, I don't want to take too much time explaining my story because this episode isn't about me. It's about you. All right. That I'm keeping your name anonymous, but this episode's about you. It's for you and for anyone else who goes through the same thought process or is going under the same issue with society, or in parentheses, they, right? So in 2016, I left Kuwait to come back to the States after, I finished my undergrad studies. If you listen to episode 1 of the Saad Truth, I explain the story in detail. But in 2016 is when I decided to come back here. And 2016 was the hardest year of my life. 16, I would say, up to 2018. Because in 2016, not only did I lose hope or faith in the process, but I also lost faith in people that were close to me. And I'm not going to go into the details of the story because, again, out of respect, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, really, because I know a lot of people are listening to this, and the same people that have been close to me are probably also listening to this. And I'm over it. I'm not holding any grudges. But there was a point in my life where I realized I was working in Kuwait in 2016, and I was like, okay, I'm working a job I don't enjoy. I'm doing something I don't like to please people who really don't give a shit whether I succeed in life or not. That's the ultimate truth. I'm telling you right now, my man, no one cares as much as you care about your life. No one. I don't care who it is. Maybe your mother. Maybe. Depends. Because I know people who have mothers who don't talk to them. My mother cares and I love her and I'm grateful for her. But I'm telling you, no one's going to care as much as you about your life. And in 2016, I was trying to pull off this automotive project, which I found no support from the closest people to me. No support whatsoever. All the people that supported that project were strangers and people that I met a few times, which is still crazy for me to think about. But that's not the point of the story. Things got really rough with my work process. Things got really rough with my family. And it got to a point where I made a decision that I no longer want to be there in Kuwait because I thought that I'm not fulfilling anything that made me happy. I wasn't doing anything that gave me joy. I wasn't doing anything that made me, left me thinking that, oh shit, the work I'm doing really makes a difference. And as a person, me, Saad, I can't do work that doesn't give me a sense of accomplishment or a sense of like I'm leaving things better behind, or just work from the front of my brain. I like to work from the back of my brain. I like to feel like what I'm doing is something that I'm conscious about, something that has like a positive impact once I'm done with it, or like, some connection beyond myself. So shit got really rough and I decided to leave, and I came back to the States in 2016 with no plan. And I had a very good friend of mine, a brother of mine, who welcomed me into his home. And I stayed with him up to like 5 months, I think. He wouldn't let me stay at a hotel. He wouldn't let me book an apartment, Airbnb, nothing. And at that time, I had a little bit of savings and no plan whatsoever. Some people in my family were disappointed that I left and didn't really understand why I left and what I was going to do. One of them even told me that I was going to go back to the States, spend my savings, and come back and look for a job again. It's been, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's been 4 years and that didn't happen. So, just goes to show you that it doesn't matter what people think. And it was what I thought was rock bottom, because at the time I wasn't really close to my family. I felt like things got really rough and I didn't have any guidance. And listen, like, there's no hard feelings, right? We all go through things. Everyone goes through a rough time. And I'm not calling anyone out. I'm just saying that up until 2016, I lived a life according to what they will think, what they will, think is good enough. And I wasn't myself. All right. And I also had friends that bought exotic cars out of college, that went back to Kuwait and got a home right away. And they were blessed to have families and support systems that gave them everything that any other individual would work years and years and years to achieve. And I honestly, I'm so happy for them. That's amazing. That wasn't my case, right? It wasn't my case. And if you know me and you're close to me, you would know the details of the story. Again, this podcast isn't about me. The podcast is about my truth, but this episode isn't about me. But what I'm going to say is that I was at a point where I had to make a decision. Do I want to continue to follow the conventional path because I'm going to have a conventional salary and I'm going to have the conventional respect and I'm going to be able to meet people who are on my level and like connect with them and maybe start a business or maybe start something that I'm not passionate about? And I decided that this wasn't me. And I left. And 6 months later, I got into law school. And at the time, again, like, I got into law school because it's not something I really cared about. It was just like I needed a reason for me to stay, to continue to find myself and hopefully pull off this automotive project. After law school, or during law school, things got so bad financially that I had to sell a car that I bought from a friend. Actually, he wouldn't even accept payment. So the same brother that took me in also like pretty much gifted me the vehicle that I drove for about a year. And I had to sell it in order to make payments for rent and other things. And I'm very grateful to have had a very good support system from friends and certain family members that were there for me right before I thought it was time for me to move back to Kuwait or like pull the plug. But I'm telling you, my dude, like, if you're listening to this, I didn't decide to take an unconventional path. It's not like I was back home in Kuwait. I'm like, I'm going to do something unconventional. No, I just thought to myself, this shit is not me. I need to do something that's more in line with who I am. And up until 2016, I'm not going to lie, I was a victim. I'm not going to say victim, because these people that are buying these exotic cars and living the lives that you're comparing yourself to probably don't understand or know what they're doing is something that other people, they might take it for granted and they don't realize the opportunity that's given to them. And some people do. So I'm just saying that I decided, and up until 2016 is what I'm trying to say, I lived that kind of life where I thought my value was connected to what I drove or where I lived or what I wore. And that's complete bullshit. That is complete bullshit. I'm telling you right now, losing respect to yourself in order to gain respect of others is the moment you lose everything in life. Like, if you give up your own self-respect because of how others are going to, like, if you feel it's not right to you, and from your message, it seems that you don't want to do the conventional path. You don't want to. It seems like you're just having doubt and you're worried about what they might think. Like you said, your parents and family and society. And I'm telling you right now, the fact that you feel that right now is amazing. So do whatever you feel is right to you. And the first 2-3 years, perhaps, it's going to be eating shit. and you're going to feel ashamed at certain times. Like I, for sure, for 2 years, I didn't have a car in LA. And for 2 years, I would go out with friends of mine that are from Kuwait. And I would feel like, am I less? Am I not on their level? Am I, like, I know it's disgusting. It's disgusting to think about it. But I realized, no, I'm not. Because everything that I gave up, I made the decision, right, to come back to the States and push and do the unconventional route. So everything that happened because of my decision, every consequence I faced, I have to own up to. So if you're going to decide to do an unconventional route and you don't have the means to live a life unconventionally while trying to figure things out, like, and when I say means, like a lot of people are fortunate enough to say, listen, I'm going to go, learn how to cook for 3 years and travel the world. And their lifestyle or standard of living isn't jeopardized at all. And if you're one of those people, touche and congrats to you. And I'm happy for you from the bottom of my heart. But if you don't have the means to take a risk like that, perhaps you got to think to yourself, are you willing to live with the consequences? Are you willing to face yourself every day and say, listen, Saad, or whatever your name is, I made a decision. And so right now, the fact that I don't have a car, or right now, the fact that I need to borrow rent money, or right now, the fact that I might have to do a job that I don't like in order to get through this month, you need to be able to say, I'm not going to blame anyone for that except for myself. And you need to be able to know that everything that you're doing is going to help you grow and make you a stronger person for the future. Or you continue studying engineering, like you said in your message, you get that degree, you get that job, and think that maybe you can get by like that and have some respect, but then you can't beat yourself up on, once you find your passion or something that you enjoy doing, you can't beat yourself and say, I wish I started 10 years ago. You had the opportunity to start 10 years ago, but you decided to go with the conventional route. So there's always a price to pay, is what I'm telling you. It's just to me, it wouldn't make sense for me. It didn't make sense. And I realized that like a little too late. It's never too late, but I realized that after I moved back to Kuwait, got a job, and I don't know, I spent my college years having a good time, having fun, living life, and maybe that's the right way to do it. I don't know, right? There's no blueprint. But what I would love to have known is that everything I was doing didn't prepare me to be a better person, except the moment that I realized that everything I've done so far was just a waste of my time. And the moment I decided to go back to the States and live here and pursue things that I enjoyed and do Legend Diary and do stand-up comedy is the moment I became myself and I found my true self and became so authentic and so in touch with who I am that nothing on the outside mattered. I didn't care about anyone's judgment of me at all. I didn't care about what was going to happen tomorrow. I was living a happy life despite the means I had to live that life. And that's when I realized, damn, now wait till all of this ends up making me successful and financially independent and secure. And so now I'm at a point in my life where my unconventional path, my decision of going the unconventional path is meeting opportunity. And it's kind of starting to light a spark. It's the beginning of a fire. And I'm starting to see the residuals of my decision. And so if there's one thing I can leave you with, my man, is that you need to know what you're willing to give up. Are you willing to give up what's good to be great? And if the answer is no, then don't take that risk, because what's going to happen is you're going to end up blaming others for your shortcomings, or you might pull the plug midway. But if I were you, I would never jeopardize my own self-respect to gain the self-respect of others. And I'm not coming off harsh or judgmental. I'm just saying me. Knowing that now, man, I'm so grateful that for 2 years I couldn't go, out with these friends of mine to these fancy places and didn't have a car. I'm so grateful. I was so embarrassed at the time, but I'm so grateful because it gave me the fire to push, and it taught me to be relentless and still have hope when I thought I was going to move back and still push. I don't even know, I'm getting lost for words, because seriously, I don't know how to explain it. When I sit with people who have an opportunity to grow, and when I'm saying opportunity, the means, the financial means, the support system, and decide not to grow, there's no way that I can respect them. It's like if you come from a place and you have $10 million and you're not working your ass off to make it into 100 million, then I don't know what you're doing, unless you just decide to enjoy life and savor life, and then I'll respect your decision. But you can't decide to savor life and then critique everyone and complain about the world not being a great place. Make a decision. Do you want to be the person that savors life, enjoys life? Then by all means do that. But if you're going to be the person that you already feel this conventional path is not for me, I don't want to do what's expected, I want to live a life, I want to be great, then go ahead and do that as well. But either way, make a decision and don't complain about it. Stick with it and be okay with the consequences. And every day that gets harder, think that to yourself. Say, hey, I made that decision, so I'm going to stick with it. That's all. And I hope this answers your question, my man. I really do, because I'm talking to you from the heart right now. And anyone who's listening to this, we really come from a society where it's all about what they will think and where we live. And I don't care if you agree with me or not, but that's the reality, and it does exist. Some of you have grown out of it. Amazing. Some of you haven't. And it's fine. I'm not judging it. I'm just stating my opinion. And my opinion might sound like a judgment. Maybe it is a judgment. Shit, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, there is no reason for you to not live your authentic self or give yourself a chance to discover who you really are just because of what they might think. Because at the end of the day, it's just you and yourself, and your ultimate happiness lies in your hands. No one else's, not who your partner is, not who your parents are, not what degree you have, not what score you got on this test or what car you drive. I'm telling you, happiness lies in how you feel about what you're doing every day and how you're treating others in your relationships with others. That's it. Because all you have, if you think about it, is the moment and what you're doing in the moment. And if you're spending moments doing shit that you don't enjoy, then you're wasting your life. And don't try to convince me otherwise. You are wasting your life. So my question to you guys, before I leave you guys, is what would you do? Or what advice would you give my friend here that asked the question? How do you go about living an unconventional life? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Would you do it? I just want to hear your thoughts, And thank you guys for tuning in. This was the Saad Truth. It's on Soundcloud every Wednesday, YouTube every Wednesday. If you don't know, now you know. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. Share it with a friend if you think it's going to be useful or beneficial at all. And make sure you like and subscribe the episode if you enjoyed it. My name is Saad Alessa, and this was the Saad Truth.